Hello and welcome to this lecture. So in last lecture we discussed about the vapor phase deposition, and today we will discuss the reaction kinetics related with that. Okay, so four silicon sources have been used for growing epitaxial silicon. These are silicon tetrachloride, dichlorosilane, trichlorosilane, and silane. Silicon tetrachloride has been the most studied and seen the widest industrial use. So out of these four, the silicon tetrachloride, the first one is the very popular. It will be discussed here to exemplify the reaction chemistry. The outline of the discussion is applicable to the other halide components. The overall reaction can be classed as a hydrogen reduction of a gas SiCl4 plus 2s2 equals to Si plus 4HCl. So silicon will come out as the solid and the hydrochlorine gas will be the gaseous material. So we are basically concerned with the solid material, that is the silicon. However, a number of intermediate and competing reactions must be considered to understand the reaction fully. A starting point in the analysis is to determine for the SiClH system the equilibrium constant for each possible reaction and the partial pressure of each gaseous species at the temperature of interest. Okay, so equilibrium calculation reveal 14 species to be in equilibrium with solid silicon. In practice, many of the species can be ignored because their partial pressure are less than 10 to the power minus 6 atomic pressure. So figure 5 shows the important species in the temperature range of interest. The plot is for particular Cl upon H ratio, that is 0.01, which is representative of the ratio that occur in the epitaxial deposition. So whenever this reaction takes place, a lot of subproducts, you can call it better as a subproducts that produced, but those subproducts are not important for us. Only some of the species are important, and we concentrate on that only. Okay, so basically the Cl by H ratio 0.01 is important, which is mentioned here. Note that this ratio is constant in the reactor as neither chlorine or hydrogen is incorporated into the layer. The epitaxial process is not necessarily an equilibrium reaction. Thus, equilibrium thermodynamic calculations may not present the total picture, but relate only to the most probable reactions. So it may be equilibrium, it may not be equilibrium. So in situation measurement of the reaction process have been made by infrared spectroscopy, mass spectroscopy and Raman spectroscopy to determine which species are actually present in the reaction. This spectroscopy is the method used in the subject of chemistry. So we do not, as an electronics engineer, we do not study about the spectroscopy technique in our syllabus. But this, since we are discussing the chemical reaction, this spectroscopy term is coming over here. Okay, four species in a silicon tetrachloride plus H2 reaction at 1200 degrees centigrade were detected. Figure 6 illustrates the concentration of each species at a different position along a horizontal reactor. We will see figure 5 and figure 6 along in the next page. Notice that the silicon tetrachloride concentration decreases while the other three constituents increase. Thus, the overall reaction is postulated as, so hydrogen's reaction with this silicon tetrachloride, one HCl is produced. Again, the subproduct is taken over here. Then again, H2 is reacted with that. Again, a HCl is produced. One silicon, one chlorine is combined here. Then again this SiH2Cl2 is taken over here. Then this will be decomposed as SiCl2 plus H2. SiCl3 can also be written as SiCl2 plus HCl. So SiCl2 plus H2 will give you Si plus twice of HCl. So you need to know this reaction kinetics, how this simple reactions of chemistry, and you need to know this particular 5 equations only. If anyone asks you in the question in the examination as well as anywhere, that how that silicon is going to be produced in the vapor phase deposition technique, and what is the chemistry involved behind that, so you can explain this. This is figure 5 and this is figure 6. Figure 5 shows you the temperature variations of the equilibrium gas phase deposition at 1 atmospheric pressure. C by Cl by S ratio, which we discussed in the previous page, is 0.01. Okay, so you need not to remember this diagram. You need not to remember this diagram. You need not to remember this diagram too, because these are the diagrams to just give you the prediction or just give you the idea how the silicon is processed. Otherwise, if anyone asks you about the reaction kinetics involved in the production of the silicon, you will only remember the equations that we discussed in the previous page. Okay. Otherwise, these figures are not important. This is just for your understanding. Yeah. So let me complete this. The sequence of reactions is interesting from several point of views. The species SiSCl3 and SiH2Cl2 are seen as intermediates, or you can call it a subproduct or byproduct to the overall reaction. Thus, growth with these halides would start at equation 7, 8, and 9, already discussed. Accordingly, growth with silicon tetrachloride has the highest reported activation energies, 1.6 to 1.7 electron volt. Decreases in turn for SiCl3 to 8.8 to 1.0. So you are seeing that when we are moving from silicon tetrachloride to silicon subproduct of SiSCl3, the energy is reduced. And further, when another hydrogen atom is doped, then you can see the energy is further reduced. So the reactions are also reversible, and under the appropriate conditions, the deposition rate can become negative, causing the etching process to begin. This observation leads to a more general equation that about how growth rate varies with temperature. Okay, so that figure is given over here. So figure 7. This is the figure 7. Figure 7 is showing the growth rate variation versus temperature. Note the negative deposition rate at low and high temperature. So you can see that the deposition is, this is zero line. This is zero line. So if temperature is too high or if temperature is too low, then your deposition will be negative. And if it is between the range of 1100 to say the 1500 degree centigrade, you will find the positive curve of the deposition. Okay, figure 8 is also there. What figure 8 is showing? Figure 8 shows the, this is figure 8, temperature dependence of growth rate for assorted silicon sources. So how the silicon sources are dependent over the temperature? This is the picture of that. Okay. Again, I am saying that these pictures are not so much of importance. You cannot remember every next figure. So always remember those figures which are very important. Like in this particular discussion, only the figure which is most appropriate and most important is figure 7. Otherwise, you need to remember only the equations that we discussed. So this is all about the reaction kinetics. We are moving to the next topic, that is the doping and auto-doping. Okay. Incorporating dopant atoms into the epitaxial layer involves the same considerations as the growth process requires. So dopant atoms in both the cases, whether we are producing the or whether we are manufacturing the epitaxial layer, or whether we are making or manufacturing the growth process, or we are involved in the growth process, the considerations are same regarding the dopant atoms. For example, mass transport and chemical reactions. So these are the two basic phenomena which we always remember. Hai. In case of the semiconductor also, we studied about the transport process in basic electronics subject. Okay, so the transport phenomena is very important. And chemical reactions are there. See, everywhere you find in case of the VLSI technology, it is a pure theoretical subject. You only need to study that how silicon is growing, what are the different methods where a silicon crystal has been grown, how we can form the particular IC package right from starting the epitaxial growth or growth of the silicon wafer. It may be by using the Rolaski method, or it may be by using the epitaxial method. So you will always find chemical reactions, you will always find the physics behind this. So you can say that this is the basic science subject. So whatever science that is involved behind the growth and process of the silicon crystal to the IC, This journey is all about the VLSI technology. Okay, so typically hydrides of the impurity atoms are used as the source of the dopant. We might expect that these compounds would decompose spontaneously, but they do not. Thermodynamic calculations indicate that the hydrides are relatively stable because of the large volume of hydrogen present in the reaction. So hydrides are stable and they do not decompose spontaneously. This is the important takeaway of this discussion. And why they are stable? Because of the hydrogen present over there. Okay, so typical of the dopant chemistry in is the reaction of arsine, which is depicted with the deposition process in the figure 9. So schematic representation of arsine doping and growth process. So here you can say that this arsine is combined over here, then this is another arsine atom, this is another arsine atom. Okay, here you can say this is the silicon dichloride and HCl is the byproduct. Silicon dichloride is given over here, then silicon dichloride, this is the Si2 and the chlorine atom. Here you can see that the arsenic, compound with the arsenic and the hydrogen is given over here as the dopant, and it is giving me the three hydrogen atoms. This is H, H, and H, and this H arsenic is going to replace the silicon. Okay, here, and here also, and similarly the hydrogen is also going to be present there. So two arsenic hydride solid is over here, and it is giving me the two arsenic gas and the H2 gas. So solid is overtaken over here. This is solid actually. This is solid. Now this is gas. This is solid. This is misprint. This is solid. This is gas, and two arsenic ions I am getting as a solid, and it is releasing 2 electron volt of energy. Okay, so interactions also takes place between the doping process and the growth process. First is the case of boron and arsenic. The formation of chlorides of these species is a competing reaction. Second, the growth rate of the film influence the amount of dopant incorporated in the silicon as shown in figure 10. At the growth rates, an equilibrium is established between the solid and the gas phase, which is not achieved at high growth rates. Okay, so this is we have just gone back and coming to the page that we are discussing. Actually, yes. So this is the growth rate. You can say that this is the silicon deposition rate, and it is increasing. Sorry, it is decreasing. At point 1 the deposition rate is highest, at 2.0 the deposition rate is lower. Okay, so silicon deposition rate, that is the micrometer per minute, is decreasing with respect to the impurity concentration. If your impurity concentration is high, then deposition rate is high also, and if it is low, then the deposition rate also goes low. In addition to intentional dopant incorporated into the layer, unintentional dopants are introduced from the substrate. See, what do you mean by intentional dopants and unintentional dopants? Intentional dopants are those dopants which I as a user doping inside the silicon crystal, or I am producing the silicon crystal by uh, involving that dopant, just like the arsenic. But what if the substrate I am using, that is a p-type substrate or n-type substrate, that depends whether we are producing the NMOS or PMOS, whatever. So the p-type, if the p-type substrate is there, then some of the dopants from that p-type substrate comes into picture. Okay, or some of the dopant from the n-type substrate comes into picture. So these dopants which already present inside the p-type or n-type material, we know that how p-type material is formed, p-type semiconductor is formed. How it is formed? Just by doping the trivalent dopants, and pentavalent dopant is used for the n type of semiconductor. So already there are dopants available inside the n type or p types of substrate. So if they come into the picture, then these kind of dopants are called the auto dopants. Since we are not involved with the doping of the uh, trivalent or pentavalent atom at this particular time. They were already doped and they are available as p type or n type material. But in this process of generating the silicon crystal, if that dopant comes into the picture, then that is called the auto doping, automatic doping. Okay, the effect shown in figure 11 is termed as auto doping. So dopant is released from the substrate through solid state diffusion and evaporation. This dopant is reincorporated into the growing layer either by diffusion through the interface or through the gas phase. Auto doping is manifested as an enhanced transition region between the layer and the substrate. Okay, so here you can see that this is the susceptor, this is the layer substrate, dopant diffusing from substrate. So this is here, this is diffusion, dopant is diffusing. Dopant adsorbed at the interface, it is adsorption. Dopant released from back and edges of the substrate, this is release. Okay, so you can say the direction in the main gas flow is like this. This is the epitaxial reactor overall. So if your substrate is actually participating in giving the dopants to the process of silicon wafer deposition, then you can say that that doping is known as the auto. Let us see the figure 12 as well. This is the figure 12, generalized doping profile of an epitaxial layer detailing various regions of auto doping. So this is the epitaxy, this is the substrate, this is the gas phase auto doping tail, this is the solid state diffusion, this is the dopant concentration in log scale, and this is the intentional doping. So this is the intentional doping, and here it is the auto doping. This is intentional, here is the auto doping. So this is the shape of the doping profile close to the substrate is dominated by the solid state diffusion from the substrate, and it is the complementary error function if we present like this, where V is the growth velocity, D is the substrate dopant diffusion constant, and T is the deposition time. So how the velocity is related with the diffusion time and the dopant diffusion constant, this equation gives that formula. Okay, so time is inversely proportional to velocity. Here you can say if time is greater, then you will find the deposition velocity on the lower side, and if the velocity is higher, then the time is lower. So in short time, the velocity of the deposition is higher or the growth is higher. So the solid state out diffusion aspect of auto doping is easy to visualize. It determines the shape of the region A. So as I said, the region A is depicting uh, the region A is giving me the idea of auto doping, and the region B is giving me the idea of, yes, the region B is giving me the idea of, this is region A, this is region B. Intentional doping. So intentional doping and non-intentional doping. Okay. Since the growth velocity easily outpaces the diffusion of dopant, the doping profile in region B is dominated by dopant introduced from the gas phase. If the dopant evaporated from the substrate exceeds the intentional dopant, an auto doping tail develops. Okay, very easy to understand. Auto doping is a time dependent phenomenon. The dopant evaporating from the wafer surface is supplied from the wafer interior by solid state diffusion. Thus, the vaporization rate of dopant from an exposed surface is not constant but decreases with time. Once the auto doping is diminished, the intentional doping predominates. Because there are the times when the substrate is unable to produce the dopants. Because we are not, providing any kind of external voltage or any kind of external excitation to the P substrate. So it is the diffusion process. So as we see two currents, drift current and diffusion current, when we are intent to get the drift current, then what we do, we apply the voltage across the diode. Okay, I'm giving you the simple example. And if I am interested in the diffusion current, I need not to do anything. I just take the P injection diode, and just by the diffusion process, the P type holes the holes will go across the electron region and electrons will go across the holes region. So some diffusion current is always there in case of the diode or p-n junction. So in semiconductor physics, you will always find the diffusion current. So diffusion current is always automatic. You need not to do anything. You just leave the semiconductor material, always it will produce the diffusion current. So here also the same thing. If auto doping is diminished, the predominant dominating thing is the intentional doping that we are providing from the external sources. The extent of the auto doping tail, yes, I explained it. Auto doping limits the minimum layer thickness that can be grown with controlled doping as well as the minimum doping level. Yes, because of the technological importance of the auto doping, it has been the subject of many studies. The discussion thus far has centered on equilibrium or at least steady state reactions. If the dopant flow is in the reactor is abruptly altered, it does not result in a rapid change in the doping profile. Molecular beam epitaxy does not have this constraint. So we will see the molecular beam epitaxy in section 2.3, and then we will discuss how it is different than this epitaxial growth that we are studying. That is the vapor phase epitaxial growth technique. And what are the advantages of molecular beam epitaxy over this particular technique? Okay, so if abruptly changed, the dopant flow is abruptly changed inside the reactor, it does not result in the rapid change in the doping profile. Okay, so even if you change the flow of the dopant, it will not translated in the doping profile of the generated silicon crystal. So this is a drawback, or this is the advantage. We will see in the next class or next lecture, where we will discuss about the molecular beam epitaxy. Okay, so this is all about today's lecture. Thank you for watching and listening.